1. Project Orpheus, the sound weapon that shouldn't exist. For decades, militaries quietly experimented with acoustic warfare. But Project Orpheus was different. So different that its existence was erased even before its test phase ended. Declassified scraps suggest a device capable of generating low-frequency resonance that could disorient entire battalions, rupture internal organs, and even cause hallucinations at range. But the surviving documents hint at something far stranger. Witnesses from a remote test range in Nevada described atmospheric distortion, vibrating sand dunes, and animals collapsing without a single external wound. Engineers complained the device could reach through soil, shaking bunkers and tunnels like a living thing. The technology appeared far beyond early Cold War physics, closer to directed harmonic manipulation than mere acoustics. Military physicists warned that Orpheus could destabilize structures miles away, trigger landslides, or even affect weather patterns. One report referenced inexplicable side effects on radio signals and human cognition. Another mentioned test operators suffering memory loss, vertigo, and overwhelming dread, symptoms resembling neurological trauma rather than simple sound exposure. Then, a classified accident occurred. A test field station collapsed inward as if crushed by an invisible wave. The incident report was destroyed within hours. Funding vanished. Teams were reassigned. When a congressional inquiry attempted to investigate, they were told no such project had ever been proposed. The remaining archives were sealed under national security restrictions. Even today, acoustics researchers who approach certain frequency ranges receive quiet warnings from defense contractors. If Project Orpheus truly existed, its implications are terrifying. A weapon that leaves no trace, no fire, no shrapnel, only silence after a single impossible vibration. The fact that it was buried so completely suggests the military discovered something it could not control, or something it was afraid others might. 2. The Black Atlas program, the aircraft older than its own technology. In the late 1950s, long before stealth bombers and hypersonic jets, scattered eyewitness accounts described an aircraft so advanced it simply should not have existed. The Black Atlas program, whispered among aerospace engineers, involved a craft with no visible exhaust, no rivets, and flight characteristics decades ahead of its time. Technicians at an isolated airfield in Arizona recalled a smooth, matte black fuselage shaped like a perfect teardrop, too seamless to be conventional metalwork. Some swore the airframe hummed softly, as if its skin vibrated with power. The craft lifted vertically without rotor wash. Its acceleration defied known propulsion. But the most disturbing reports came from radar operators. The object didn't merely evade detection, it appeared to bend radar signatures, creating ghost echoes miles away from its actual position. Modern analysts suggest metamaterials, but those were supposedly discovered 40 years later. So how did 1950s engineers build what aerospace science hadn't yet imagined? Then the program vanished. Hangars were emptied overnight. Engineers reassigned. Test pilots disappeared from the record entirely. One even removed from family military logs as if he had never served. Months later, a high-ranking Air Force official dismissed the Black Atlas as misidentified atmospheric tests, despite internal memos confirming its existence. Why the cover-up? Because the aircraft seemed based on recovered technology, not invented. Its structure didn't match manufacturing capabilities of the era. Some components were impossible to replicate, according to one surviving note. The project was buried because it raised a question the military refused to answer. Where did the design come from? Whatever the truth, the Black Atlas remains a ghost in aerospace history, an aircraft too advanced for its time, too dangerous to acknowledge, and too real to forget. 3. Operation Sable Mirror, the telemetry that predicted the future. Officially, predicted telemetry did not exist until the late 20th century. Unofficially, Operation Sable Mirror demonstrated something far more unsettling in the 1960s. A system capable not just of tracking missile trajectories, but of forecasting battlefield outcomes with unexplained accuracy. Declassified fragments describe an algorithmic system fed by early mainframe computers, yet several analysts insisted the predictions could not have been generated by computing power alone. The system anticipated troop movements hours before they occurred. It projected aircraft deviations before pilots made the decision. It calculated conflict escalation days before politics shifted. One analyst wrote, "It does not predict outcomes. It knows something we don't." The program terrified military commanders. During a field exercise, Sable Mirror identified a vulnerability in a communications hub, one that theoretically shouldn't exist. Hours later, during a routine drill, that exact hub suffered a freak equipment failure. Coincidence? Sable Mirror continued to predict events with impossible precision. Accidents, system failures, even personnel decisions. Some researchers believe the system was tapping into unrecognized environmental cues. Others whispered it was reading classified communications through unknown means. A few insisted the machine was using patterns older than modern warfare, cycles of conflict embedded in human behavior. Then came the final report, a prediction so catastrophic that the Pentagon sealed the project instantly. The forecast has never been revealed. Within days, all hardware was dismantled. Researchers were reassigned or disappeared into private defense contracts. Every related file was buried in classified annexes. Why erase a system that worked too well? Because it suggested something forbidden, that war is predictable, that human conflict follows a deeper pattern, and that someone or something had mapped it long before we did. 4. Project Widow Lantern, the Vanishing Soldiers Program. In the late 1980s, rumors spread of a classified experiment involving battlefield optical cloaking, far earlier than known stealth fabric research. Project Widow Lantern aimed to create soldiers who could disappear in plain sight, not through camouflage, not through electronics, but through light phase manipulation, technology that officially did not exist. Surviving contractors describe suits made from layered microprisms capable of bending light around the wearer. Test footage allegedly showed soldiers dissolving like heat mirages, but the strangest reports came from field trials. Soldiers described losing their own sense of presence, feeling unstuck from the environment. Some experienced vertigo, others dissociation, and a few claimed they couldn't see their own bodies even after the suit was removed. A classified incident ended the program. During a nighttime exercise, 3 soldiers wearing advanced prototypes vanished, not visually, but physically. Radio contact was lost within seconds. Sensors picked up momentary distortions, then silence. A full search found nothing. No gear, no footprints, no remains. Officially, the soldiers died in a training accident involving environmental hazards. Unofficially, the program was shut down within 24 hours. Scientists disagreed on what had gone wrong. Some argued the suits bent electromagnetic fields rather than light, disrupting biological processes. Others believed the soldiers fell into natural depressions or underground cavities. But one internal memo, later leaked, proposed a third explanation. The suits may have displaced the wearers from normal visual space, a possibility so disturbing that the military erased the entire program. Because if soldiers can vanish, they might not always come back. 5. The Halcyon Cybernetic Trials, the soldiers who remembered too much. Before modern brain-machine interfaces, there were the Halcyon Trials, an attempt to enhance memory, reaction time, and situational awareness through invasive microelectrical implants. Conducted in the 1970s at a secure research facility, the trials aimed to turn human cognition into a military asset. Early volunteers exhibited astonishing improvements. They could recall maps from memory after seconds of exposure. They reacted to simulated threats before the threats fully appeared on screen. Their spatial awareness became so heightened that some could detect motion behind them without turning. But the enhancement came with side effects. Volunteers began recalling events they hadn't witnessed. Shared hallucinations appeared across subjects, as if their memories were bleeding into one another. Some experienced flashes of locations they had never been, including decommissioned bases and black site structures. One subject drew detailed schematics of a facility that intelligence later admitted should not be known to any civilian or enlisted personnel. As the trials progressed, the anomalies intensified. Volunteers complained of hearing voices speaking in languages no one could identify. Others woke up knowing classified information they could not have accessed. Then came the final incident. During a cognitive mapping test, all 12 subjects collapsed simultaneously, experiencing identical seizures. When they recovered, they delivered the same message, word for word. It's not ours. Funding vanished overnight. Hardware was dismantled. Subjects discharged with falsified medical records. The official stance: the Halcyon trials never existed. Experts speculate the implants unintentionally tapped into deeper neural architectures, perhaps even dormant cognitive patterns inherited from ancient survival instincts. Whatever Halcyon unlocked, the military decided humanity was not ready for it. 6. Operation Iron Garden, the forest that moved. In 1944, deep in Eastern Europe, German and Soviet units reportedly encountered a phenomenon neither side could explain: mechanical structures hidden beneath forest terrain, capable of relocating overnight. This became known in intelligence circles as Operation Iron Garden. Recon units reported metallic sounds underfoot, as if something massive lay buried beneath moss and soil. Entire groves shifted positions between scouting missions. Trees rearranged themselves into geometric patterns so precise they resembled coded messages. Both armies blamed each other until both witnessed the same impossible event: an entire section of forest drifting several meters in complete silence. Post-war analysis suggested the moving forest was an abandoned pre-war experiment involving rail-mounted mobile bunkers disguised as vegetation. But eyewitness accounts contradict this. Soldiers described routes made of interlocking plates, trunks with hollow interiors, in tree bark that peeled back to reveal machinery older than the war itself. One Soviet engineer claimed the structures were not German, not Soviet, too old, too advanced, too alien to our metallurgy. His report was confiscated. After the war, Allied intelligence launched a covert investigation. They found massive subterranean chambers dated far earlier than any modern military construction. Some chambers were empty. Others contained rusted frameworks resembling supports for immense mechanical organisms. Then, seismic readings detected movement, deep underground, traveling slowly toward an unknown direction. The site was sealed within days. Today, the area is restricted under the guise of environmental instability. Satellite images are blurred by government request. Forestry workers avoid the region entirely. Operation Iron Garden remains classified because it implies something unthinkable: that an unknown faction, long before the World Wars, constructed mobile fortifications indistinguishable from nature, structures that may still be moving. 7. Project Hellenic Dawn, The ancient weapon rediscovered. In 1936, during excavations in the Mediterranean, archaeologists uncovered metallic fragments bearing inscriptions in an unknown alphabet. Military observers identified heat scoring and energy discoloration inconsistent with any ancient metallurgy. The discovery triggered Project Hellenic Dawn, an attempt to analyze what some believed was an ancient directed energy device. The fragments were stored in a secure facility. Scientists immediately noticed something strange. The metal resisted all attempts at cutting, melting, or drilling. Under spectroscopy, the alloy displayed properties not found in any natural ore. It behaved as though engineered at a molecular level. As more pieces were recovered, a pattern emerged. The components resembled focusing arrays, lens housings, and energy conduits, too modern for antiquity, too primitive for modern energy weapons. The device appeared to be incomplete, but when researchers assembled the remaining pieces, they noticed alignment marks matching the stars, specifically the constellations as they appeared over the Mediterranean around 10,000 BC. This alone should have rewritten history, but the implications were far greater. A test involving low-energy lasers caused the fragments to resonate, producing a narrow beam of amplified light, far beyond what the input could justify. The device wasn't a weapon. It was a multiplier. Something ancient cultures used to amplify light or energy to a degree modern science still struggles to achieve. Then the accident occurred. A focused beam ignited a reinforced wall instantly. The lead researcher resigned. The fragments were seized by military intelligence. Today, the entire project is classified. The official line, misidentified archaeological material. But researchers know the truth. Something catastrophic happened at the end of the last ice age, and someone, long before modern civilization, possessed technology capable of harnessing the power of light. Hellenic Dawn was erased because it proves we were not the first. 8. The Obsidian Network, the global surveillance system before satellites. Before satellites, before GPS, before digital espionage, there were rumors of a global network of mirror-based relays capable of transmitting signals across continents. This was the Obsidian Network, an alleged pre-WWI project so secret that its existence surfaced only through scattered testimonies and a handful of confiscated documents. It began with a discovery in the Andes, polished stone towers with reflective surfaces so perfect they rivaled modern optics. Engineers claimed the towers were thousands of years old, yet aligned with military precision. When sunlight struck them, beams were projected over astonishing distances. Inspired by these structures, an international research cell attempted to recreate a system of optical relays using mountaintops worldwide. Early tests reportedly transmitted coded flashes from South America to North Africa, impossible distances from mirror technology. But the most unsettling discovery was that some mountains already had unnatural, flattened surfaces. Someone had prepared signal points long before modern nations existed. Then everything accelerated. Signals began appearing that no team had sent. Coded flashes resembling structured communication, patterns repeating every 13 minutes. When analysts decrypted portions of the patterns, they discovered references to locations that didn't exist anymore. Valleys long submerged, mountains collapsed, and deserts that were once fertile plains. The signals came from now lost geography. That was the moment the project was shut down. Because the network wasn't new. It was awakening. Every tower was dismantled or camouflaged, reports sealed, technicians reassigned. Satellite surveillance became the new official technology. The The Obsidian network vanished because it proved something impossible, that a global communication grid existed long before modern civilization, and someone tried to activate it again. 9. Project Seraphim, the airborne infantry that shouldn't have worked. During the Vietnam War, briefings referenced an experimental unit capable of silent vertical insertion without helicopters, jump jets, or gliders. They were part of Project Seraphim, a black-budget attempt to create electrically assisted jump troops using exoskeletal lift harnesses. Official records deny the project existed. Witness accounts tell a different story. Soldiers reported seeing figures descending without parachutes, drifting like gliding birds despite wearing compact packs. The devices allegedly used high-density capacitors and directional fans capable of producing lift far beyond what their size suggests. Engineers argued such technology was impossible with 1960s power sources, yet prototypes demonstrated vertical takeoff from tree canopies and silent lateral movement across valleys. Then, the malfunctions started. Pilots drifted into enemy fire due to magnetic interference. Static discharges injured operators. One squad reportedly vanished into low cloud cover, never reappearing. Internal memos mention electrical anomalies, unexpected altitude gain, and loss of Earth reference orientation, phrases associated more with aerospace failures than infantry gear. Some researchers suspected the harnesses tapped into atmospheric energy layers, not battery power. Others believed the technology was reverse-engineered from unknown aerospace debris. After 3 fatal incidents, the program was shut down and buried. The harnesses were destroyed. Surviving operators were silenced. If Seraphim existed, it was erased because it threatened to expose a truth the military feared, that humanity has barely scratched the surface of what atmospheric physics can do, and someone, somewhere, had already figured it out. 10. Operation Stillpoint, the device that stopped time for 0.8 seconds. The most controversial erased project of all. Operation Stillpoint began in the late 1990s as an experiment in battlefield temporal dilation, slowing time in a localized area to give soldiers a tactical edge, supposedly impossible. Yet internal sources claim the device produced a measurable anomaly. Using high-frequency oscillation fields and a supercooled core, researchers attempted to create a microenvironment where reaction speed artificially increased. Instead, they created something else, a temporal void. In one test, high-speed cameras captured 0.8 seconds during which projectiles froze mid-air, dust hung motionless, and a researcher's movement blurred as if stretched across frames. But the anomaly had side effects. Electronic systems rebooted spontaneously. Clocks desynchronized. One researcher aged visibly overnight, hair whitening as though exposed to years of stress. Then came the catastrophic test. The device activated without command. For 12 seconds, all sensors flatlined. When power returned, 2 researchers were missing, and one appeared 15 meters from his original position, disoriented, claiming he had been in total darkness. The project shut down instantly. Hardware dismantled. Every document classified above top secret. Why erase Stillpoint? Because its success proved something humanity is not prepared to confront, that time is not fixed, that it can be manipulated, and that even a fraction of a second can change everything. Even today, some physicists hint, quietly, that the anomaly was real, and that Stillpoint was buried not because it failed, but because it worked.